Hello and welcome back to the show. We have Dr. Geneva Craig with us here today. Welcome, Dr. Craig.
Thank you.
Would you please continue with where you left off in your story for us?
I certainly will, Andy. I was sort of summarizing, all the things that were on me living in Alabama, trying to get a degree, a nursing degree, at a level where most blacks were not allowed to pursue, which was RN in Alabama, and dealing with the news of my daughter being diagnosed with a brainstem tumor, the death of my father within a month of that news, and my mother had just died several months prior to that, moving to Russellville, Alabama, and becoming president of the Student Nurses Association. Wow, a lot on a lady. And then the struggles of trying to get someone when I was taking my child around to please take a look at her because I know something is wrong. Well, and I'm going to summarize this because I get real emotional when I talk about that and tell you this. My daughter was told, while I was, and she was in the room, that she had 3 months to live. And my daughter, bless her little heart, she says, "No, Mommy, I'm not dying in 3 months, but I'll tell you." And she did. I must tell you that. She was alive to see me graduate from Northwest Alabama State Junior College with my associate's degree in nursing, associate in applied science nursing. And she was so happy. She says, "Mommy, see, I'm here. And I got to see it, and I'm so proud of you." Yep, I did it. 1974, graduated. Well, my daughter died, a year really after we knew of the diagnosis. She died. Vera ended up joining the Air Force, and I stayed at home in Selma, moved in Selma until Val decided she wasn't going back to school. She wanted to take a break, and she was in her 12th year. And it was time for Geneva to move. I had done a search to see where was I going to live. I took time to write out what I wanted in the place where I chose to live. I wanted a city, but not a big city. I wanted countryside, where I could just go out and blend into the outside in the country, the trees, the lakes, the whatever. I wanted it far, far away from Alabama. And I wanted difficult for a family to be able to come. Because, Andy, I was tired.
Mm.
I was tired. And my big mama had given me a message. She says, "You took such good care of May, my mother, and Sylvia, my daughter." She says, "And now you can help take care of me." I looked at Big Mama and I said, "Big Mama, as long as God give you health and strength to take care of yourself, I'm gonna let you. I'm leaving." I had written to the National League for Nursing to find out what schools in the United States would accept what I had, that I could build on it to get my bachelor's in nursing. Because everything you were reading back then said BSN preferred. Well, I wanted to have the preferred so that I didn't have to worry about jobs, the type, my work. And the NLN sent me back a book that had all the nursing schools in the United States and different requirements, and I wrote to different ones looking at the geographical locations of those schools. And I wrote to several of them. One of the schools that I wrote to was the Alaska Methodist University. And in the packet of material that they sent me, they had this book called the Bicycle Tour Book. And it took you around the city of Anchorage.
Mm-hmm.
I read that book and I was hooked. I knew where my next home would be. So Andy, my opportunity came because my responsibilities were thinning out. My sister in Massachusetts said, "Oh, come, spend some time in Massachusetts. You need to experience a real winter. You need to experience snow and driving on it." So I said, well, I got a couple of months. I'll go spend the winter in Massachusetts. And I did. That was the worst winter they had had in years. They would have rain called freezing rain. Who'd ever heard of that in Alabama? Freezing rain. Well, I found out the next day I got to leave out of work because I was working at a rehab center there. And it looked like somebody had laid this glass all over the parking lot. People were walking out, and I'm going, where are you going? They said, going home. I said, do you see what's out there? And they go, yeah, ice. I go, yeah. And they said, I said, you driving on it? They said, yeah. I said, okay. I'm not going out there driving on that. I found me an empty room, and I went to sleep. Okay? No, I wasn't. I was a night nurse. I looked out, I said, when the sun melts it, I'll move. That's it. I went to sleep. All right. Bad winter. The guards from Massachusetts, Andover, had gone to Alaska. It was one of their mildest winters. I said, what am I doing here? Man, you better believe, when summertime rolled around, this girl had maps, tent, sleeping bag, 3-burner Coma camper stove, and she loaded up. See you later. And I had fun. I had planned. Leave Massachusetts, drive up to Buffalo, visit with my aunt and uncle there, over into Canada, drive across, drop down, visit with aunt and uncles in Detroit, visit with friends in Indiana, and cousins over in Minnesota, then drive up out of Minnesota into North Dakota and go up through the North Portal, drive across Canada, and then go on up into Alaska. Had it planned, and I had time. I started that trick. Oh my goodness. I'll never forget. The first night that I camped out was at Minot, North Dakota. My cousins in Minnesota had been trying their best to get me to stay in Minnesota. You can go to nursing school here. You better, but part of my plan was no family, okay? And I had family in Minnesota. Nope, not gonna work, not part of my plan. And it was in the evening time, and I was having a good time with my cousins and everything, and it was a Sunday evening. And something said, girl, get up and go. And I did. It was about 5 o'clock in the evening. They go, are you gonna leave now? Can't you wait till in the morning? I go, no, it's on me to leave now, because in the morning I may decide to stay. And this is not this is not part of the plan I've laid out for myself. I'm leaving now. I loaded up my car, had my things on the top of the car, and I jumped in my car and I took off. And like I said, the first time I camped out was outside of Minot, North Dakota. And I didn't even pitch my tent. I got my sleeping bag laid out there, made sure I had some little brush and so forth to lay on, and I went to sleep, rolled up, and I said, if anything come after me, I'll just roll up under the Nova, because it was a 74 Chevy Nova that I was driving to Alaska. I got up. When I drove into, reached the Alaska Highway, I was heading up into the Yukon Territory. Oh my goodness, breathtaking. breathtaking. And I went, oh my God, nobody would believe this if I tried to describe it. I had a little camera, and I snapped a few pictures, pictures of the car, welcome to Alaska sign, those kinds of things as I was going up. But while I was going up in the Yukon Territory, there were wild horses, and there were rams, just caribou, there were buffalo, and then there was this one guy, he was in a truck, and we always tend to camp pretty much in the same spot. I had made this thing that I was going to drive till it got dark. Well, I think I had been driving about 18, 19 hours. And I said, something's wrong with my watch. You know, forgotten, it doesn't get dark in the summer. Okay. And then found out I was just too tired. I just stopped and made camp. I went to sleep. And this guy, the next day, we happened to be at a end of some sort and filling up with gas and getting something to munch on. And he goes, did you hear those bears? I said, bears? He goes, yeah. Did you hear the bears? I go, no. He goes, all that racket and you didn't hear it? I said, well, I heard some racket, but I figured it was the wind. He said, racket that loud from the wind would have blown that tent down. He looked at me, he said, you didn't have any peanut butter in your tent, did you? And I go, yeah, I was. I said, I had peanut butter and crackers. He goes, lady, let me tell you, there are two things that you do not carry with you camping out here in this territory. One is peanut butter, and the other is bacon, because the scent travels for miles. I said, really? I had bacon in my cooler. On my 3-burner camper, Coleman camper stove, I would cook grits, fry me some bacon, fry my bread in the skillet, and I would make coffee and add hot chocolate to it. Good camping meal. And the guy laughed. He said, grits. And I go, grits. He goes, well, you're a different kind of camper. And I laugh. Oh, yeah, I am. I said, but I'm camping. Went down the road. I don't think I had driven 75 miles or 50 miles for that matter, when this humongous brown bear was coming across the road. I stopped the car and I said, he might not have been telling me a story. This bear came, I'm looking at this bear, and I'm in the car looking, and he's looking at me. He stands up. He walks around, he's walking around the car looking at me, and I'm looking at him, but I'm okay because I'm in the car. And I'm going, oh, he had to be an escapee. So the next place I came to, I told the man, I said, if anybody's looking for a bear that escaped from the zoo, I saw him down the road, and I had marked it on my car on the speedometer. The man looked at me, he said, lady, where are you from? I said, Alabama. He said, Alabama, where's that? I said, in the South, Alabama. He goes, oh. He goes, nobody's looking for the bear. I said, it's a big one, and if he escaped, I know he had to escape from the zoo. He told me, he says, no, they live here. I said, what? I said, people don't know their horses are loose. Bears are out escaped from the zoo running around. Man, I'm telling you, I had an educational moment right up there in the Yukon Territory. But I made it to Alaska. And I got there and I decided, now what do I do next? Well, I had my tent, my sleeping bag, my camper stove. I had transportation. I passed a campsite on my way into town. I already knew where I could stay. I had this one lady who had given me her sister's telephone number. She was a fellow nurse that I worked with, and we had bonded well. She says, promise me, Geneva, that the first thing you do after you get there and you've parked your car and you looked around, you will pick up the phone and call my sister. And I had promised her I would do that. So I did. I said, I promised your sister I'd give you a call. And the girl went, where are you? And I said, well, I'm downtown off of C Street. She says, what are you driving? And I said, oh, you'll know it. It's the dirtiest car out there because the dust and stuff from the Alaskan highway was all over my car. I said, oh, you can't miss it. It's got stuff piled up on the top of the car. And everybody so far that passed me said, you just got off the Alcan? I said, so apparently you'll know it. She said, stay where you are. And so we met up. And she says, I've got your room ready. I said, what do you mean? She says, my sister said that I was to take care of you. She says, you're a good person and you're there on your adventure, but she didn't want you camping out. And she wanted me to make sure, she says, and your room is ready. She says, until you find the place you want to be. So good things happen to people. That's it. Some real nice people still left in the world. Really are. So I went to her place and I stayed there for a little under 2 weeks. The first thing I did was get all that stuff off my car and wash it to get that yellow glistening coat back on it, because that Nova had served me well. And Andy, we don't have time to go into some of my adventures along the Alaskan highway, because I had some adventures, which is, one is driving through mud. Driving through mud, remember that. We'll have to talk about that later.
Okay.
Make it to Alaska. I contacted the people at Providence Hospital and started working 3 days a week. My goal for going there was to go back to school. And I immediately got into the program, the nursing program, to start my trek toward my bachelor's in nursing. My first semester at UAA was a shocker because I had been conditioned from going to school in the South to not just give it your all. So I knew how to give just enough to make a decent grade and pass. My goal up until now had been just passing. Just make sure I pass. Not too low, not too high. Stay right there in the middle range. Well, Andy, doing that, I get my final reports, my grades. I got A's. I did a double take. I looked at it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. A's? They give A's. This school gives A's. Andy, I got on the phone. I called folk in Alabama. They give A's up here. They go, what? They give A's. You go to school, you do your work, you get A's. I was so excited. I could not believe it. I was making A's. Oh my goodness, go figure. I said, this place may be all right. Now, every place has some racism. I can't think of one place you could move to and you're not going to experience it. So you might as well choose your place. And I was beginning to feel real good about being in Alaska, in Anchorage. Carl was my roommate after Carl Dixon was looking for a roommate. So I moved in with Carl and Stephanie. And that was an eye-opener in itself, because now here's this little black child coming from Alabama, and now she's living with whites. Okay. I said, this should be interesting and educational, and it was. We ended up adopting each other, sister and brother, and we divided up how we were going to do things. And I was the better cook of all, so I did most of the cooking. And I'm going to school. I'm exploring Alaska. Carl was working on his pilot license. So I got to fly out and see different parts of Alaska. Uh, the schooling was just blowing my mind. I had good friends. I had good instructors. I was the one who really pushed for them to get what's called challenge exams at the university in the nursing program. I said, I'm a registered nurse. I run an intensive care unit. I'm charged in the unit. And you want me to come to school and show you how to give a bath or how to give an injection? I said, that stuff ended way back when I was in LPN school. I learned all of that. And I've been through the associate's degree program. So they went, So we got together and developed challenge exams. The instructors, I had input into that. They said, okay, Geneva, we want you to be one of the first to take these challenge exams. No problem. And I said, whenever you get them finished up, call on me. Because this making beds, giving shots, and this little stuff like here, I said, that's old stuff. I don't need basics. You need to be giving me something more advanced. We had challenge exams. I made 100, 99. They called a meeting. They wanted to know, who's giving you the answers? I said, answers to what? Are you seeing the test before it's being given? No, I'm not. They go, well, we don't have anybody else making hundreds. Go, their problem, not mine. Because, see, I was the type of child that I always read. I always kept up. I didn't wait. If I waited for you to tell me what you wanted me to study, I'd have to play catch up. Learn this in Alabama. So what I would always do is I would always be ahead of the class. Ahead. On my own. Reading the nursing, medical, surgical journal and the book that we had to purchase. I was always reading ahead. So by the time they got to teach it, they were catching up with me. Because I didn't have time to spare. And now in Alaska, I don't have anybody. I don't have my mother. I don't have my daughter. I don't have my siblings. I don't have to take care of anybody but Geneva. So I read even further. I was teaching a lot of things to the other students. I helped them along. Helping them along reinforced it with me. So, yeah, I was making 100 on your test. I already know that stuff. That's what you want to know. Do I know it? Going over to the hospital. I'm working in the unit. Doctors are coming up, like, who are you? And I'm telling them who I am, and they're going, okay. I had to set some rules with them because I'm used to working independently, and I'm working at night. And I had to give the message real loud and strong. When Geneva Craig, who's in this intensive care unit or over in the coronary care unit, because they had them separate, calls you in the middle of the night, it is not for a whimsical issue. It is very serious. If you hear my name, wake up and respond. I promise you, I will never call you for something that can wait till morning. Worked out beautifully, got along with the physicians well. Some challenges with the nursing staff, and some things that I saw needed to change. I'm helping my peers to go back to school. I graduate. I'm happy. I'm ready for the next thing. What do? I'm ready now to really push forward with my nursing profession, because I've got the minimum, the entrance level for the professional line, the BSN. So Andy, that's when I started getting involved with more of the Nurses Association, making things better for nurses in the workplace. that led into more the political aspects of nursing, the politics, the environment, and I would write articles, I would do talks, I would get nurses to bond together, so these are the things that I started doing in Alaska. And before you knew it, I had branched out from project manager, nursing director, and I even served as the assistant administrator for nursing at Providence
We
to
got a
help us.
couple minutes of our time left with you. I know that right now you made it to Oregon, and you are a PhD, and that all happened while you were in Alaska.
I graduated in 2004 with my PhD, and that was through the Walden program. Another story in itself, but we can talk about it later, but I was waiting for that distance learning program to really kick off in the United States. And Walden was one of the very first to kick that off. And I joined that program as soon as that school became accredited.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time to be with us here today. I'd love to have you back again. We can talk about this a little more.
Okay. Thank you for having me, Andy, and telling you the story of how I became who I am today.
Thank you, and thank you.